All right, guys, welcome to another episode of the Business Hustle Podcast. I'm your host, Alex Moore, and today I am flying solo. There's nobody else here in the podcast studio. It's just me, and I'm happy to be here. It's been a while. My last podcast was probably a little bit over a month ago, and I've taken a little bit of a break because life gets busy. The hustle never stops. And so I've taken a little bit of a break, but I am kicking it up into high gear this week. And so I wanted to record just a quick little episode updating you guys on kind of what's next and what to expect and kind of my thoughts of what's going on in my life and my hustle and stuff like that. So, when I started this podcast, I had the goal of putting out an episode a week. And I did pretty good for the first, month or so, but it was a lot of work. So each one of these episodes, most of my episodes are normally between 45 minutes and an hour, somewhere in that frame. And so to talk a little bit about what goes into making these podcast episodes and the time commitment and stuff like that, which I've been learning a lot about. So obviously the time to record the podcast and, so obviously that's going to take, if a podcast is 45 minutes, it's probably going to be double that. So it's probably going to be an hour and a half by the time I get it set up and torn down, all my equipment, everything like that, and meet with the person and talk with them and do the podcast. So that's about an hour and a half for that. And then you have to upload everything onto your computer and start editing it. And so my first process for editing a podcast is tying the multiple camera angles into one and syncing in the audio from these microphones and all of that into kind of one sequence. And then I have to go through and watch the entire podcast. So again, if it's a 45-minute podcast, it's probably going to take me between an hour and an hour and a half to do just that, because I'm having to switch the camera angles, sync in the audio, and then I have to watch the whole thing. I have to watch it from beginning to end. So that normally takes about an hour and a half. And then as I'm watching it, I'm marking what clips I think are important and what things would be good for shorter clips to go on Instagram and Facebook and stuff like that. And so that's kind of involved in that hour and a half. So that brings me up to a total of about 3 hours worth of my time so far. And that just gets me, basically an edited episode, record an episode and an edited episode. So from there, then I go back and I create the little clips that you see on Instagram and Facebook with the subtitles. And that's probably about 30 minutes per minute clip, because I have to do subtitles, and create the graphics and export it, and then all of that stuff. So that's about 30 minutes per minute clip, and some of the clips are a minute or two, and so that's probably another couple hours right there. And then you get into all of the uploading and stuff like that, which is a little bit more passive. But so each episode I'm probably in anywhere from 5 to 6 or 7 hours, depending on how many clips and how involved it is and how technical it is. And so that was something that I didn't really understand when I started the podcast. I had done some podcasts in the past, but never with video and multiple camera angles and stuff like that. And so it was a little overwhelming, a little bit tiring, to be honest, because of all the other stuff that I'm doing. And so it was a big learning experience. And so in the last month, where I haven't been doing podcasts, I haven't been taking time off. You can ask my wife and kids. I haven't been taking any time off. But in the last month, I have been working on some other projects for some other people to build up my editing skills and my ability to edit quicker and learn the software better, because I'm all self-taught. I've never done this professionally before. I'm self-taught, and so I've taught myself everything. So that has kind of been, that process, and so I've gotten faster at editing, so hopefully I can cut that time down, a little bit, but it's been very time-consuming. And that's not an excuse. It's just the reality of what it is. And so, I think it's important as you start your side hustle. And I've had a lot of people reach out to me talking about wanting to start their side hustle and wanting to, start down that path of making their side hustle into, their career, or their job, or their future, or just a bigger part of their hobby. And what I would say to that is what I've done over the last, 3 months. I started this podcast because obviously I'm really interested in talking to small business owners and learning from them and sharing their content with you. But another reason why I started is because I wanted to learn how to do all of this stuff. I wanted to learn what to do, how to do it, and the technical side of it. And my natural inclination is to say, okay, I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait until I have more information. I'm going to wait till I have more and better equipment. I'm going to wait for this. I'm going to wait for that. And the reality is that if you wait, you're never going to do it. And so about 4 months ago, I made the decision that I was going to do a podcast, and it was going to suck. And the first episode was me talking. I didn't have video, and it was me talking for 20 minutes, and it wasn't very interesting. And then the next episode was with my very good buddy, Jamie Holt with Holt Physical Therapy and Performance Training, shout out. And that episode was a lot better than my first, but it was still kind of rough around the edges. And then I've evolved into my next episode. And, it would have been very easy for me to say, yeah, I'm just going to wait until I've got all the answers, or I know how to edit everything better, or this or that. And I didn't. And, the first episode went up pretty quickly. The second episode I was going to try to have the next week, but it took me 2 weeks. And then the next episode went up. And, and it was just kind of this process that wasn't what I envisioned. But I got 7 episodes out, right? And that's better than the next guy next door who's been still thinking about doing his podcast. And so, the other thing that I learned is you kind of have to give yourself a little bit of grace. You have to hustle, and there's a lot of hustle to be had by everybody, but you kind of have to give yourself some grace. You have to hold yourself to a higher standard, but at the same time, you have to give yourself some grace. And, during the month of May, there was a lot of stuff going on in my professional life and with family and with traveling, with all these different things, that the podcast just didn't happen, right? I mean, it just, for whatever reason, I'm sure there were times in the day where I could have been working on it. I could have been doing it, but I chose to do other things. But it was a busy month. And so just like when you're trying to lose weight or your personal training or whatever, I fell off the wagon, right? I failed on my goal to getting 1 episode out a week. And so that sucked. I felt really, really bad about it. But there was only one choice for me, and that was to pick back up and to keep going, right? So I recorded an episode earlier today that I'm super excited about. I've got an episode scheduled for Friday, which is going to be really, really cool, multi-generational business and stuff like that. So I'm super excited about that. And then recording this episode, like talking to 2 cameras and with 1 microphone, is very terrifying. There's nobody to carry the conversation but me. And sometimes I feel like I'm just rambling the whole time. But it needed to be done. And this gives me yet another episode. It's probably not going to be my best episode. It's going to be a little rough around the edges, but it gives me another episode, which buys me another week. And so this week I'll have 3 weeks worth of episodes. And then the next week I need to schedule another couple of people so I can build up that buffer so that if I do have a busy month, I've got episodes that I can roll out and then catch up, when it's not quite as busy. So that's what's been going on with me. I'm really excited about, the future of this podcast. I've had a lot of people reach out to me and tell me how much they've enjoyed it, and that's meant the world to me. I'm really grateful for everybody who has been on my podcast, who has listened to my podcast, who has given me feedback. It really means the world to me, and it really keeps me going. And so that I just wanted to thank everybody who's watching this podcast. Thank you for your feedback. It means more to me than you know. And I would say keep it coming. Keep it coming with recommendations of who you think should be on the podcast, who you know who is out there hustling, who wants to share their story. I would love to interview them and to get their story. Lastly, I want to talk about just going for your dreams. It's always been a dream of mine to have a podcast and to interview business owners and to go down this path. But there's a lot of fear and a lot of naysayers out there who are going to say you can't do it, or it's not worth it, or it's already been done. Joe Rogan's already doing a podcast. He already owns that space, or you're not going to be him, or you're not going to be this guy, or how are you going to monetize it? You're never going to monetize it. It's just a hobby. Whatever the reason is, don't listen to them. As many people have come out and say how much they love my podcast, I've had probably 10 times as many people come out and say, I don't get it. Why are you doing it? It's not going to make money. It's just going to be a big waste of time. The space is overcrowded, whatever it is. And I just want to say, screw them. Don't listen to them. They're the guys that aren't doing it. They're the guys that are just sitting on the sidelines, not doing anything. And so, the only difference between them and you is doing it. So if you have a goal, if you have a side hustle that you want to do, just do it. There's plenty of time for excuses. There's plenty of times for reasons why you can't do it. But every time you utter an excuse, every time you utter I can't do this because, or you don't understand, there's already too many people doing it, that's just an excuse, and that puts your goals further away from you. There is plenty of time, plenty of market share for any hustle that you want to do, any business that you want to run, anything that you want to do. There is room for you if you're willing to work, and it's a lot of work. Like this morning, I got up at 5 o'clock or 5:30 this morning, so that I could be, out helping a buddy with a project that's kind of in line with what I want to do 5 years from now, 10 years from now. I was at his place at 6:30 in the morning, and here it is. Right now it's 9:10 at night right now, and it would have been easy for me to go home and climb in bed or work on some stuff at home, but I'm here at the podcast studio recording an episode, giving me another week of podcast to put out there. So, the only difference between me and the next guy is that I'm actually here doing it. I'm actually here putting in the time. I'm not watching Netflix. I'm not watching, sports. I'm here putting in the time. And that's the difference between me and everybody else. And so I would just encourage you guys to put in the time, put in the effort, sacrifice now so that you can have your dreams and you can have your goals and you can have your side hustle. Because I'll tell you what, I don't live for the weekends, right? Well, I kind of do, because then I can focus more on my side hustle. I don't live for the weekend so I can go party, or so I can just relax, or so I can sleep, or so I can do whatever. I live for the weekend so I can work more on my side hustle, so I can put 12-hour days in on my side hustle, because that's how much I enjoy it. It's just part of me. It's part of who I am. And so, if you've got a side hustle that you're working on, make sure it's the right one. Make sure that it's all you can think about. That when you would rather work on your side hustle than watch TV or go to a sporting event or anything like that. Because if you can find a job or a career or a business where you're more focused on it than any kind of, that's your entertainment, you get satisfaction and completion out of your hustle, then you found the right one. Life's too short to be working on projects that drain you. Life's too short to be working on crap that you don't care about. So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of my two thoughts, my two thoughts. That's kind of my 2 cents. Just kind of about, what I think people and their side hustle and the people that I've talked to, just keep hustling. It's like a quote I heard, there's a good place to, the quote I heard was, there's a good place to go when you're broke, and that's to work, right? That's Dave Ramsey always said that. His grandma said that. There's a good place to go when you're broke, and let's go to work. And there's a good place to go when you're lost and when you're not motivated and when you don't know what your side hustle is, and that's to work. Try different things. I've certainly done my fair share of different projects and different avenues, and pushed and iterated on different things, and realized that, that's not really for me. It's okay. Just keep trying, keep going, keep pushing. Do whatever you got to do. The last 30 days have been kind of tough on me because I've got a lot going on. And so, to help me, keep my head up and keep pushing through it, I would listen to a lot of motivational stuff on YouTube, right? The rah pump you up with the motivating music and all of that. And that helped a lot. I don't listen to that all the time, but that helped me get through, the rough patch in the road that I needed to last month. And so you just got to listen to what you're doing and where you want to go, and then feed yourself what you need to get there. So I think that's super important. If you're focused on getting to your side hustle. So that's pretty much all I've got. I'm super excited about where this podcast is going. It's small right now, but that's okay. I'm not scared. I'm super excited, super energetic. I want to get to, 40, 30, 40 episodes by the end of the year, which is going to be, a lot of work, but I know I can do it. And so that's going to be kind of my goal. 1 episode a week. And then if I get caught up on some and get, a lot of people interested in stuff like that, I might put out a couple of weeks. So if you guys know of anybody that's out there hustling, that's out there executing, or even somebody who wants to execute on their side hustle but doesn't know how, or doesn't know where to start, or needs some motivation, have them reach out to me. I would love to talk with them either on the podcast or just in person. I want to connect with as many small business owners or potential small business owners as possible. And so, just put me in touch with them, and I would love to chat with them and help them, any way I can. So again, I appreciate all of you guys for your supports, and, that's a wrap for this podcast episode. We went, looks like about 18 minutes, which is, it feels like I've been talking forever. Like, it feels super awkward, and I don't know if this is going to make any sense, but it's done. It's in the books. It doesn't matter. So just remember that. Done is better than perfect. So anyways, hope you guys are out there hustling, and shoot me any questions if you got any questions. Thanks.